I would rather you get away from wanting to be Kevin Durant and start being more like a Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yes. What you just saw was Perk criticizing Wemby for playing on the perimeter too much. This is a narrative that has been a hot topic and was fueled by the fact Wembanyama had a slow start to the season. In the last 7 games though, Wemby's stat line looks like this, including a career-high 50-point game against the Wizards, which makes me think that the Spurs are cooking up something genius. Let's break it all down.
In San Antonio, Wemby step back 3, and it's good!
First of all, the obvious. There has been a noticeable shift in Wembanyama's game going from rookie to sophomore years. The most glaring difference is the attempted 3-pointers per game. Wemby averaged 5.5 3-point attempts last year and now is averaging 9.3. In some games, he's taking upwards of 13 or 14 shots from beyond the arc, playing more like a 7'4" wing. Actually, at the moment, Wemby is in the top 10 of 3-pointers attempted in the whole league, surrounded by mostly guards in that list. In fact, if we look for the next 7-footer, we found Lauri Markkanen, who sits at the 56th spot with 6.4 attempts per game. So it's clear that it's not just a huge jump for Wemby personally, but it stands out in the context of the whole NBA. This shift hasn't been without its challenges, of course. His 3-point efficiency was underwhelming early in the season. That clip of Kendrick Perkins actually came after the Spurs played the Jazz in the Halloween game. And by that point, San Antonio was 2-3, while Wemby had made 8 threes out of 34, shooting at 23%. One of the main things we hear is he's 7'4", why is he wasting his size on the perimeter? And yet Wemby is converting at 75% in the restricted area, an elite number that proves he's incredibly efficient when he does go inside. The issue is not that he can't dominate in the paint, it's that the Spurs don't want him to solely rely on it. The other big change is how Wemby is being utilized in the offense. As a rookie, his role was a bit more limited. Catch lobs, grab offensive rebounds, finish plays, and occasionally step out to hit a jumper. To be fair, Wemby was a great role man from year 1, but the problem was having Jeremy Sohan as your primary playmaker. So the additions of Chris Paul and rookie Stephon Castle also played a significant part in Wembanyama's utilization in those pick and roll and pick and pop actions. Now he's also much more involved as a creator himself, facing up defenders, taking step back threes, and initiating more plays off the dribble. When it comes to his poor shooting percentages, it simply took Wemby some time to shake off the rust after limited preseason action and readjust to the pace and style of the NBA game. And guess what? In these last 7 games, we're finally seeing greatness in his reinvented game. He's putting up over 30 points and is shooting over 40% from 3. Take that 50-point game against Washington, where Wembanyama shot his season-high 16 3-pointers, making half of them. Neither the more traditional big Jonas Valanciunas or the more mobile Alex Sarr were able to contain him. Threes from the top of the key or driving past the defenders if they step up too high. All game long. And not to take anything away from Wemby, the Wizards do have the absolute worst defense in the league, so it's less surprising. Anyways, this recent stretch from Wemby hasn't just silenced the critics. It started to reveal why the Spurs approach might be genius. First of all, they are giving Wembanyama the green light to shoot threes at this volume in order for him to develop his outside game. He's putting up way more threes from both pick and pop situations and especially ISO situations than he did in his rookie year. As Wemby came into the league, he was nicknamed the Alien, and it seems like San Antonio has embraced that. Instead of playing it safe, they're developing a player who can completely redefine how big men are utilized in the NBA, ignoring the growing pains along the way. Also, it's difficult for any player to develop every part of their game simultaneously. For example, just remember how different LeBron was in the first half of his career. His game was all about athleticism, his shooting was unreliable, his playmaking wasn't nearly as good, and his post game was lacking. It took multiple seasons implementing and developing each aspect of the game. And with Wembanyama, the challenge is even greater knowing how unique his potential actually is. It takes time to refine so many different tools, and he can't realistically work on everything at once. That's probably why we're seeing this emphasis on playing on the perimeter and shooting so many threes from the ISO to start here too. The key will be to eventually combine his elite inside game with the polished outside game. His length and touch already make him almost unstoppable near the basket, but what sets him apart is how his outside game complements this. If Wemby keeps knocking down threes at the rate he has recently, defenders will have to respect his range, which opens up lanes for him to drive, finish, or create opportunities for teammates. We already see that smaller, quicker defenders struggle with his size when he posts up, while traditional bigs can't keep up with him on the perimeter. Now add a consistent stroke from the 3 to the mix. Honestly, it's mind-blowing. And there's another problem with generational talent. They also create generational hype and expectations. Sometimes I feel like we forget that Wemby is literally 20 years old. The man is not just the favorite to win the DPOY, but he's pretty much a lock. Now imagine what happens when over the next few seasons he addresses his main weaknesses. He should definitely add some muscle and improve the physicality, but as Wemby said, he's taking the smart and measured approach, not rushing to bulk up. Then you imagine he'll put some emphasis on his post game and maybe the mid-range too. His handles are already impressive, but give him a few more years tightening those up, and I really struggle to comprehend how anyone will stop this guy. Of course, it's not exactly a given that he'll be able to improve in all aspects, but that's the beauty of it. He can try, and apparently the Spurs can afford it. Are they a playoff team this year? Well, the way it seems right now, they might as well be. The veteran presence has made a huge difference for San Antonio. Last year, we saw losses in games where the Spurs seemingly had the win in their pocket, but would fumble the lead at the end. This year, that added experience has already helped them win half as many games as they did in 82 games last year. Currently, with a quarter of the regular season done, they are hovering over that play-in spot in the standings, with their record being 10-9. What happens if the experiment doesn't work out? Well, nothing really. Wembanyama can always fall back to the shot diet of Giannis like Perks suggested. But actually, even if Wemby would eventually return to his rookie numbers of 3-point attempts at 5.5, that still means he would be shooting 3 times more than Giannis, which is probably why you shouldn't compare their games. Now, if it does work out, that's when things get scary. A 7'4" player with the ability to play inside like Giannis, have KD-esque ISO game, and protect the rim like Gobert is something worth waiting years for. The Spurs at the moment seem to understand that greatness isn't built overnight. They're giving Wemby the tools, the freedom, and the time to fail, learn, and grow. This is a long-term investment not just in Wemby's skill set, but in his confidence and adaptability. The criticism, the early inefficiencies, and the occasional bad game, well, that's just all part of the process. What's more important is that we're already starting to see glimpses of what's possible. As for the critics, I think they need to stop being so stubborn. Yes, Wemby's game right now might not fit the traditional mold for a player his size, but that's exactly the point. The NBA is evolving, and Wembanyama is at the forefront of that evolution. If his recent performances are any indication, the Spurs plan isn't just working, it's starting to thrive. But what do you think? Should Wembanyama keep developing this perimeter-heavy style, or does Perk have a point about focusing on dominating inside? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, don't forget to like and subscribe for more NBA content. See you in the next one.